And now let's meet our guests and find out why this year's New Year's resolution may be less forgiving for drunk drivers. Rich Hackett is the former Director of Field Services for Mothers Against Drunk Driving, also known as MADD. Rich is now an attorney in private practice, was a former prosecutor who tried thousands of drunken driving cases, and continues as an active volunteer for MADD. Don Ramsell is an attorney at his law firm, Ramsell and Associates, based in Wheaton. Don and his firm have handled over 5,000 DUIs. That's driving under the influence of a mind-altering spirit. Don also sits on the Illinois Bar Association's Traffic Law Committee. Don's phone number says it all clearly: dial DUI or dial injuries. Gents, welcome. Don, can you explain to us the new law that will take effect on January 1st?
Well, essentially what it does is it removes the opportunity for a driver to avoid the revocation of his license if he's had one previous DUI arrest in his lifetime. So now a person who has had a second DUI arrest, regardless how long between, will get his license revoked indefinitely.
No second chances?
No.
And you got a problem with this? This is people who drink and drive people should not drink and drive, and someone who does it twice should forfeit their rights, no?
Well, I think that the law is too severe. Of course, no one should drink and drive. Right now, the state of the law is if you do drink and drive, you're going to lose your license 3 to 6 months. Now, the judge is forced to revoke your license, so the impact could be a loss of driving privileges for 3 to 5 years or longer.
And that's a bad thing?
Well, that's a bad thing if you are not allowed to take into consideration whether that person has gone through steps, alcohol rehabilitation, the impact on his lifestyle, etc. It removes the discretion that the court normally has to consider the individual and what he's done to rehabilitate himself.
Now, Rich, there are many people who really think drinking and driving is a terrible thing, who think that this law will lead to, for example, fewer convictions for DUI, that it'll be plea bargained down to other lesser charges, and it'll actually work against the purposes that ostensibly would strive to achieve.
I disagree. I think the Senate Bill 1251 is a positive step forward and will ultimately reduce the number of fatal crashes and personal injury crashes here in the state of Illinois. It does reduce the judge's ability to give supervision to once in a lifetime. And there's a historical perspective.
Okay, as of right now, you could, up until January 1st, you can get supervision once every 10 years?
That's correct, once every 10 years. And prior to that, it was once every 5 years. And prior to that, it was, you know, carte blanche. The judge could give any number of supervisions to DUI offenders. And I think we've seen responsible public officials and lawmakers looking for ways to encroach upon the judicial authority to make sure that we don't turn drunk drivers back on the highways with their driver's license intact. And that's exactly what supervision does. It's a type of sentence that allows a drunk driver to keep his driver's license. And if that drunk driver has a very serious drinking problem, then that presents a danger to the other motoring public. And that's what MADD is about, trying to prevent personal injuries and fatal crashes. And we think this particular law will help us in that mission.
And Don, will this law change what the advice you will give to your clients who are accused of DUI? Absolutely.
I will encourage all of my clients, first offenders or otherwise, to go to trial and force the prosecutor to go through every hoop to obtain a conviction, whereas before I would have been much more encouraging to have them go through alcohol rehabilitation and work through the supervision program. But you cannot give up your get-out-of-jail-free card, so to speak, once and then try and work through your entire life again.
Now, Rich, that's reasonable. It's reasonable that he would instruct his clients thusly, and that would lead to a log jam in our crowds in our already overcrowded courts, and that's not going to help anyone, is it?
Well, I disagree with my learned defense attorney here that I think the overall effect upon the court system will be minimal. And the Secretary of State's office, George Ryan, has put together some statistics that indicated over the last 20 years there have been 425,000 DUI supervisions granted. And out of that 20-year period, there were only 22,000 DUI offenders that received supervision. So I think the judges are hesitant to grant supervision upon supervision to a repeat DUI offender. So I think this law is just codifying what the judges already believe, and I think the overall impact upon the court system will be minimal. The court system always responds under these circumstances. If there's an increased caseload or an increased number of jury demands, they'll provide additional judges and additional courtrooms to handle that particular load. But we do not anticipate that there'll be any dramatic changes in the court system under these circumstances.
Do we have any reason to believe that limiting supervision to one shot in your entire life would actually encourage people who do have a serious enough drinking problem that they would repeatedly do this? Would it actually encourage them to stop drinking and driving?
I think it would. I think it would have kind of a dramatic effect.
But do we have any reason to believe that? I mean, aside from your just general faith.
I do, because I think a lot of DUI offenders that hire a skilled counsel like Donald here feel as though that he preserved my driver's license on one occasion, he can do it again. And it might even encourage additional drinking and driving because he got the supervision pass under a prior circumstances. But if they know that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to straighten out their drinking and driving behavior, and if they don't do that and they get a repeat offense, their driver's license is going to be revoked. I think it'll have a dramatic effect and reduce the number of personal injury and fatal crashes.
It's a reasonable thesis, ain't it?
Except the opposite's going to become true, because when you present a client with only one option, they can't go to rehabilitation and save their license. They have to go to trial and simply avoid get a not guilty. If they get a not guilty, they're more likely to repeat their conduct again. Having people given only one choice, there's going to be an increase in those DUIs that are dismissed or those persons that are found not guilty and do not get any rehabilitation whatsoever. It will have the opposite impact.
Let's take a break, and then we'll come back and discuss what the effect, get a little more about what the effect might be as we discuss the new DUI law coming to Illinois January 1st here on Talking with Aaron Freeman. Come join us after these words.